Hi, my name is Guru. I'm here to put the first entry of a process that I'm documenting to try to use technology to influence, catalyze positive evolution in human society. I know that sounds large, but we'll get to on these progressive entries that I do on how I'm doing that. But I know I'm going to be using technology, but right now I'm going to talk about some of the impetus to the idea. Um, I'm a student of history, teacher by profession, um, and when I sit back and I think about the world through a historical lens, back, and then using history to see the future, one of the things that brings a great deal of sadness to me is that throughout our history, we have long stretches of the dark nature of human nature, war and murder and rape and exploitation, with some small sparks of resistance to that, some small sparks of compassion and love and peace. And what bothers me, if it was truly, as some people say, is our default human nature, I don't know if we would, the negative aspects, I don't know if we would feel this tug within our hearts that says that that's wrong. So when I look at history and I'm sitting there reading at night over an hour, hours into it, and I feel like crying because it's such a long stretch of sorrow. Uh, I wonder to myself, why isn't it different? And maybe that's childish, but I ask myself, why can't it be different? Because imagination, I believe, is the precursor to reality. Not everything that is imagined becomes reality, but anything that is reality has been imagined. And I can imagine a world that is not filled with the negative aspects of humanity. I can imagine a world where everyone is fed, which some people would say is silly, but I've done a little bit of research on just on the hunger. We have the ability right now to feed everyone in the world. We have the ability to be at peace. We have this ability within us. And why don't we? Perhaps when we talk about the dark side of nature, we talk about human nature, we talk about the selfish side. And perhaps when we were starving primitive man roving the savannas, that served us. But especially in America, lower middle class or somewhere around there, we have no needs to access that aspect. It's time to evolve. And evolution, if we look through a biologist's eyes, is usually singularly bent on procreation and perpetuating of the genes. But I wonder to myself, can human, evolve biasly? And not using biased how we usually as a negative, but biased towards or partisan towards compassion, love, and peace. Well, and not just as a flimsy, just catch-all, make us feel good, but how can we do that? So that's what's been keeping me up recently. So it got me to thinking about technology. Now, I'm rather neophyte in the particulars of technology. This piece of the camera we're using now is beyond my understanding. My understanding is usually a cell phone, which still confuses me on how to turn on and off. But the philosophy of technology, I am a student of. I find this very interesting through Postman and Mcluhan, on and on and on. And how technology is a paradigm shifter. Postman said this actually. He said, we get this mistake on us where we think that bringing something new into an ecological niche is just that same ecological niche with something extra. For example, a caterpillar into an ecological niche that lived there. If you take it out, that is not the same ecological niche. It's a new thing. Or if there was one that without, you put it in, it's new. So with this idea of technology and philosophy, as Postman and Mcluhan and them were saying, and looking at it with alarm, which I have looked at technology with a little bit, not with, actually a lot of alarm, is because it's ceased becoming a tool of humanity, and people are now defining themselves buy their technology. I think it's marketing media, all these sort of things. I'm an iPod person, those sort of things that people say glibly, but to me, I find frightening. So I wanted to use technology in a positive way. The lights went out. Yeah, I wanted to use speaking of technology, I wanted to use technology in a multiplying effect, to be able to, as technology usually is to multiply not my selfish desires for more wealth, for more energy, for more consumption, but the positive side. Can I use technology to multiply as a tool to multiply the positive aspects of human nature as a whole, get a community together to drive this community by a positive side, so a biased evolution. So I wanted to use this technology, social media, the internet, this video camera, to be the way that I can get these ideas out to other people, and that they can come together with support and their own ideas. Because let's take money, for example, grants. A person who has $1 million, the choke point is access to that $1 million. So the person writes a grant, blah, blah, and tries to get that $1 million. There's the choke point. So a lot of people give up on their ideas. I don't think I can get that access to that $1 million. But what happens when that's opened up and you have 1 million people who have $1 to give? What happens to that one idea? What happens to those people who give that dollar and they see an access and the ability to get their ideas out that is biased towards the better halves of human nature? What happens? I believe that what would happen is that you would start getting these ideas bouncing off of each other, that you would start getting support, and we would be seeing change on a huge scale, I believe. At first it would be small, but it would turn viral, and I believe that humans could tap into this with consciousness. And technology then, instead of being just the student of the philosophy of it, I can steep myself in it with a meta view of it too, and try to drive it, not just me, but everyone who wants to be a part of this community, and drive it towards the positive side of nature, the compassionate side of nature, the kinder side of human nature. And why we can't, I don't know. I don't know why it hasn't been. I think it's probably because we're stuck in a paradigm mentally of a primitive man, of a selfish, starving primitive man. And we have the tools now of a modern man, but the mentality, we need those to match. And so that is going to come to the end of our entry now. That's the reasoning behind it, because I want to be able to sleep well, for one, to know that I've been able to give a little bit of effort to try the home run swing and try to see if I can do this. I don't know if I can. I hope I can. And I'll be putting these entries up once a month to document the progress of this giant ideas is the idea that name that's floating around in my head. I'll talk to you in a month.